What's up guys, and welcome back to Retro Gamer Gen X's Retro Gaming channel. In today's video, we're going to do another versus video, and the cool thing about this one, this is actually going to be a viewer's choice video. So I put a poll in my community tab, and everybody basically picked what they wanted to see. And this one, the Atari 5200 against the Colecovision, won out with 36% of the vote. So I just wanted to thank all of the viewers, all my subscribers, all my fans out there that did vote. You guys rock. So let's go ahead and get on to this Atari 5200 versus the Colecovision video. All right, first up is Jungle Hunt on the Atari 5200. As you guys can see, I'm actually using the Atari 5200 and its joysticks here. I don't do emulation, anything like that. It's all original equipment for these versus videos because we want to see how these systems actually performed. So let's go ahead and get started here, guys. Yeah, I'm not too good at Jungle Hunt. Now, I am on the actual Atari 2600 version, but this version on the 5200, not so much. But as far as like the graphics and things, I mean, they're pretty cool. I mean, pretty detailed. The vegetation looks kind of cool. You know, the actual title character, I can't even remember what his name is in this. But he looks pretty cool. You know, so the graphics are good. Controls, now what can I say, guys? It's the 5200. The vines aren't too bad. And you could get through them relatively easy. Now the crocodiles here, I am not even going to attempt to try to play around with these guys. I'm just going to avoid them as much as I possibly can. Because with the 5200 controllers, just trying to get, you know, the knife out and try to strike them where you need to strike them to kill them and all that, it's just kind of a pain. And I tried there, but didn't work. But yeah, once again, guys, as far as graphics and things goes, I mean, this looks pretty good. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, the alligator sprites are kind of cheesy looking. But as far as like look at the detail in the coral of the riverbed or whatever that is. I mean, that's pretty cool. But it's not like the arcade game. Close, but not quite. Alright, so now we're to the rock level here, guys. Yeah, this one is sometimes kind of challenging, especially when you get to the further levels, just because of how fast they are, and those bigger rocks are just a pain in the butt. But yeah, as far as overall gameplay, guys, I'm not gonna complain. I mean, you know, a lot of people complain about the controllers on the 5200, and in this game, it's not that bad. It's actually halfway decent. It feels good. I'm not having too many problems with the controls here. Until I die. But yeah, those bigger rocks are always a little more challenging. But yeah, I mean, it's not too bad, guys. Well, let me see if I can... Nope. Well, so there's Jungle Hunt on the 5200, guys. Next up is going to be Jungle Hunt on the Colecovision. Now, this version of the game actually is not half bad, guys. I'm not going to lie here. And if you guys can't tell, I am actually using my Colecovision, like I said, not emulation or anything like that here. As you can tell, the RF signal on this system is not very, very great. So I'm running this through my VCR to get it to AV, and then AV through my capture device so that you guys can watch it here. And yeah, the RF signal is just kind of horrible. But as you guys can see, this game represents the arcade a little bit more. I mean, this actually looks like the arcade version. It feels to be a little bit more fast-paced. I do feel like I got a little bit better control as well. So that's pretty good. But yeah, I'm kind of impressed with the graphics. Now, it doesn't have the detail in the graphics like the 5200 version does. So like the trees are just green, you know, the foliage up top or whatever it's called, and the grass below. But as far as the character sprites, definitely a lot more like the arcade. Man, I am just not doing well here at all. Are we even going to make it past the vines, guys? Wow. Yeah, the ColecoVision controls are not bad. They're a little touchy. That's the one thing I got to say about the ColecoVision. In like every game, their controls are very, very touchy. But yeah, this looks way more like the arcade. At least the way I remember it. I don't know. But once again, I'm just gonna skip through these crocodiles, guys. I'm not even gonna mess with them. I'm gonna try to get to the cannibals or whatever they are that kidnapped your girlfriend. All right, here we go. So I got to the end of that level. Now we're on to the rocks here. And once again, you know, pretty easy to control this. I'm not going to complain. Not too bad. And like I said, the graphics actually look really good on this. This is far more representative of the actual arcade game. And the controls are just great. It's like I feel like I'm running up the hill and I'm going, I'm jumping. Yeah, this is a really good port of Jungle Hunt. It just feels right. Let's just put it that way. It just feels right. Ah, and of course the rock. Oh, alright, there we go. Ooh. And one last big rock, and then there we go. Now we're off to these cannibals, so we gotta try to save the girly friend up there. And this is kind of difficult just because of the way you jump. It's kind of hard. See what I mean? It's kind of hard to judge how far you got to be away from them to jump over them. But honestly, with the Coleco controls, not too bad. So there we go. Save the girlfriend. Pretty good version. I like this one. The Coleco version. Alright, next up is going to be Montezuma's Revenge on the Atari 5200. Now guys, I'm not very good at this game, so I'm going to tell you that right now. And if I remember right, the controls on this aren't that great. Honestly, they're not half bad. Yeah, I kind of dig them. I'm very surprised. Getting up the ladders, everything is pretty easy to do on this. You mean a Atari 5200 game where the controllers actually work pretty well? What? Sorry, Atari fans, I didn't mean to say that. But we all gotta admit, these controllers are pretty bad. But, yeah. I mean, it's pretty easy to use, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, the controls are great on this game. So maybe it was the ColecoVision version. I guess we'll see when we get to that. But as far as graphics goes, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, look at it. It doesn't look half bad. I'm not going to complain about the graphics. Looks just fine. This is where... Yeah, I'd have to say gameplay on this is just amazing. I actually got a lot further in this than I thought I was going to get, guys. I dig it. If you're into these platformers, this is definitely going to be one for you. But as far as which one is the best version, I guess we'll see once we bring up the Coleco. Because I guess we'll see what we can do with it. Probably not much. Because this level here is pretty hard. Yep. So there it is. Montezuma's Revenge on the Atari 5200. Okay, Montezuma's Revenge on the Colecovision now. So we're going to see how this one works out. Oof. Yeah, I would say the Atari 5200 version looked pretty good, guys. I mean, the graphics on this is not that great. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I'm not too happy with the controls either. These controls are just so stiff on the ColecoVision, and it makes this game so much difficult. So much more difficult to do anything. I mean, it works, but they're just so, like, touchy. Trying to get up and down the ladders and all that. So it's going to make these jumps very difficult to do. Oh. Yeah, so these controls are pretty bad in this. Oh, I'm definitely going to give it to the Atari 5200 on this because, yeah, this one's just not that great. Well, let's check out the next set of games. All right, up next is Pitfall II: The Lost Caverns on the Atari 5200. Now, this, guys, is one of my favorite games, at least on the 2600 and 8-bit line of computers. Yeah, and this is the Adventurers Edition, which is the same, basically, that's on the 8-bit computer line, where it has that additional level at the end. So once you actually get to the end, there's a whole nother game to explore. So, really cool game. And as you guys can see here, the graphics, the trees have more details, the rock has more details, the water has more details, all that kind of stuff. And as far as controls go on this game with the 5200 controls, I mean, it is a little bit more difficult, I'm not going to lie. But it kind of gives it that aspect of being more difficult, as this is supposed to be what the super system or whatever it is. So, you know, it's supposed to be more arcade-ish. But it definitely, now, if you guys aren't aware, have never played this game, you got to get to these like checkpoints, those red like crosses down below. You don't really die in this game, but if you do get caught by an enemy or anything like that, you'll go back to those checkpoints, and that's where basically you'll start back off. So, kind of cool how they do that. Now here, guys, is where it starts to get a little difficult with the 5200 controllers. So before, when you're just kind of jumping over the enemies and doing whatever, that kind of thing, it's not all that hard. But when you start getting to where the ladders are, see how it just, you're not completely centered when you're pressing down, it wants to jump off. And if there's a bat or something there, that's not going to be good. But like I said, I'm just kind of doing a real quick run of this. I'm not trying to get all the gold and everything, so we are just trying to get to the end so I can show you that Explorers Edition or Adventurers Edition. Alright, guys, and here's the little infamous balloon level. I remember as a kid that this was kind of cool as a kid. I was like, oh, balloons, you know, and all that. You're kind of floating around, that type of thing. Just different things that this game had that made it so unique as compared to other platformers at the time. Alright, guys, now we're to the point where we're about to save the niece. So this is one of the big things, one of the big items you're supposed to be getting in the game. So your niece is up there, you're here to save her. There she is. She has been saved. So, on to the other stuff here. Now, the next thing you gotta get is this diamond ring. And it's just right down here. But, yeah, guys, I think I'm like maybe 7 minutes into the game. Like I said, I'm kind of going through it fast. I'm not trying to collect all the gold or anything. But definitely a game if you learn, you know, your way through this game. Here's that diamond ring. But if you learn your way through this game, it doesn't take long to defeat it. It's like maybe a 15-20 minute game. Okay, now we're coming to the most difficult part of Pitfall II, especially with these 5200 controllers. This is where this level is just the same exact thing over and over and over, where you got to go under the condors and under the bats, just plank after plank after plank. It's just insane, and if you mess up once, you have to go all the way back to the checkpoint. Now there is one more checkpoint about halfway up, but yeah, with these controllers it makes it really difficult, guys. Alright guys, we finally get into the end here. Just gotta get past this bat and this frog. This is probably one of the most difficult parts of the game right here. Doesn't look like it, but it is. Alright, and there's Quick Claw, but first we gotta get the rat over here and knock him off into the water or whatnot. And then we'll get Quick Claw, and then the game is done at that point on like the 2600 or whatnot. But as this other portal opens up, and you go into the new edition. So pretty cool here, guys. So let's go ahead and check this out and see what this looks like. So as you guys can see here, yeah, different enemies, speed is different. Like we have this ant thing down here, we have these bats. Now bats end up having like this weird temperament, and they end up going all over the place to get you, and yeah, it's a whole lot different. This is way more difficult, and I have not defeated this part yet, and I've been playing this for years. One of these days I will defeat this version, or this bat. See what I mean? But anyway guys, that's Pitfall 2 on the Atari 5200. Let's check it out on the Colecovision now. Up next is Pitfall 2, The Lost Caverns on the ColecoVision. Alright guys, so here we go. This is the ColecoVision version of this game. Yeah, I mean, it's there. The color palette is way off. The graphics don't look anything like the Atari. The graphics are ColecoVision graphics. I mean, there's not very much detail to them, but they're good graphics, and it works. But yeah, definitely different colors. Eesh, I don't know. And the controls, like I said, the ColecoVision just has these really stiff controls, and I have a feeling that when we get to the ladders and things, it's gonna make this game pretty difficult. Alright, so we kind of got to the ladder stage here, so far it's not too bad. Not having too much difficulty trying to control it. But like I said, as stiff as these controls are, it's really hard. It just doesn't feel the same as it does on like the Atari versions, whether it be the 5200 or the 2600. The timing's a little bit different too, so you gotta really be on time in this game, or else you will die. Like, see, that bat almost got me there, which normally that bat doesn't even show up in that split second of time. But all in all, I mean, it's definitely still a good game. The graphics, like I said, they're not detailed, but they're good. You see what I mean? That's that timing thing I was just talking about, guys. So, I mean, this is a good game, don't get me wrong, but I'm gonna go ahead and give this one to the Atari 5200. Next up is Star Trek Strategic Operations Simulator on the 5200. Alright guys, so here's the Star Trek game here. This game's actually pretty cool. I grew up playing the 2600 version of this game, and this game is quite a bit the same, I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty much the same game. Basically, you gotta go around and just kill all the Klingon ships, go to your supply ships, and actually resupply. There's not much strategy to this game, it's just basically shoot and get, shoot and get, shoot and get. And then you got these levels here where you gotta like hit the supply ships to be able to resupply with photons and everything else. Although they don't really tell you what your supplies are, they just have those gauges on the side. For the other version, the Coleco version, as we'll see, is a little bit more strategic, and it's a little bit more of a simulation, I guess. But this game is fun. The graphics are okay. Gameplay is there. And with the controls, with the 5200 controllers, it's actually not half bad. It's another game that's not half bad with these controllers. In fact, the analog actually kind of helps because you can kind of gauge how far you're aiming, or you know, how close you're aiming to your target. There, finally got it. And as you can see, we defeated Nomad. Oh boy. So now we move on to the next sector, and every sector just gets harder and harder and harder. More enemies, they get faster. Definitely makes the game a lot more challenging the further you go in levels. So yeah, definitely a fun game, guys. So if you're into Star Trek, or if you're into any of these like space games, this is definitely going to be the one for you. And this is probably a little bit more like the Atari 2600 version than the Coleco version. Like I said, we'll see that in a little bit. But yeah, this is a fun version, but yeah, it's definitely starting to get a little hard here now. And the Atari version here is more for like just racking up points and doing that kind of thing, guys. So that's what I'm gonna try to do here. I'm just gonna try to kill this thing, even if it kills me. Alright, well, that's exactly what happened. But anyway, there's Star Trek for the 5200. Let's go ahead and check it out on the Coleco next. Alright, so Star Trek Strategic Operations Simulator on the Coleco next. Now, this one, as you can see, the artwork is actually different. And it's definitely a different game. It's still a lot like the Atari version and a lot like the arcade version as well. But this one is a little bit more true to the arcade. It's more of a simulation. And you can use two different kind of controllers. You can either use the hand controller, or you can use the Super Action controller. So we're just going to go ahead and use the regular hand controller. We're going to put it on the easiest skill because I really do suck at this game. Now this game I think is a lot better than the Atari version. Just the graphics, the sound, listen to the music. Just so much cooler. It shows you that you got your shield, your photon, and your warp. It shows a shield around you. And as you use your photons and your shields are used up, they disappear, as you guys can see. But it makes this game really hard because it is so much more of a simulator. Like right now I'm out of photons, so I have no way to fight back, and yeah, I'm just dead. So it makes the game a lot harder, but it makes the game so much better. And I'm not really trying to play here, guys, so as you can see, I already died. So let's go ahead and start it up again and see if we can do better the next time around. I don't know. Maybe not. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start her up again, see if we do better the second time around. I highly doubt it, because this game is hard. I really need to like read the instruction manual, see what I need to do. I know we got to supply ourselves. Every time we get hit, we got to supply ourselves. So it's really more of a simulation. So that's why I'm saying that this game is better. The graphics is better. The sound is better. Because everything in this game is a little bit better. Now, if you're looking for just a game to play, to rack up points, then that's going to be the Atari one. If you're looking for something that's going to be a challenge, then this is the one that you're going to want to play. As you guys can see, I just... Let me see if I can resupply real quick. Oh... Yep, there we go. I don't want to... Oh, I lost all my photons already. And, yeah. That's it. I'm dead. So, there's Star Trek on the Coleco, guys. But I definitely got to say, this one is better. So I'm going to give this one to the Colecovision. Even though the Atari version is funner and faster paced, and you can get more points, this one is more true to the arcade. So I'm going to choose this one. Oh, hey, you guys are still here. Well, if you guys like the content, don't forget to hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell. That way you get notifications every time I drop new content like this. So I'm going to go ahead and get back to this game. Why don't you guys go ahead and get back to the video here. All right, and up next is going to be the Star Wars arcade game on the 5200. You guys all know the Star Wars game. It's either a sit down or stand up in the arcade. This was probably one of my favorite games back in the day when I was a kid. I just loved this game. And I did not have this at home. Every time I went to the arcade, I ended up playing this and spending a ton of quarters on it. It was just such a cool game. With the vector graphics and just everything else. But this 5200 version, guys, I'm going to tell you right now that with the controls, the analog controls, they're not bad. They're not good either. I mean, it was really hard to even try to shoot a TIE fighter there. And just trying to line up your shots is a little bit more difficult just because of how touchy and how sensitive that the analog controls are. But they actually are not bad. Once again, a 5200 game where the controls aren't as bad as you think they would be. And so this kind of follows along with the arcade where you're going down the canyon of the Death Star and you got to shoot or put your torpedoes or your photons or whatever it is down the down that little tube to blow up the Death Star here. So that's what we are doing right now. And we should be coming up on that tube here pretty soon. Just got to avoid all these stupid laser balls. There we go. Got it. And then the Death Star blows up. And it's probably not the best version of the Death Star blowing up there, but hey, you know, what do you do? Alright, next up here is the towers. And you just got to shoot the tops off the towers and avoid the fireballs. And avoid trying to hit those towers and dying. But yeah, guys, this is a fun game. You know, I definitely got to say, truly is a fun game on the system. I feel like the controls are okay. Aiming is a little hard on this because just when you think you're on the target, you just hit it just a little bit and the analog stick shifts over and then you miss your target. So it does make it a little bit more difficult to try to shoot. Alright guys, and we're back to the tunnel now, or to the canyon. And as you can see, there's a little bit more fireballs or photon balls or whatever the hell those things are. Makes it a little bit more difficult. Now as you go further on in the stages, obviously the canyon starts having all those obstacles in it that you got to go up and around and between and avoid all the fireballs as well. But I think that's on the next level coming up. There we go. Got the Death Star again. And one more time, back into the canyon here, guys. And as you can see, we have those different like levels that we have to avoid now and fly in between and underneath and all that kind of good stuff. So, and honestly, the controls aren't bad for this. I mean, I feel like I'm in control. I feel like I'm actually able to avoid these pretty well. Now, the fireballs is a different story. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna die here, guys. Get it, get it, get it. Oh, and I missed it. Of course I did. Yeah, this is gonna be the end here because I'm not gonna be able to make it without getting hit again. But yeah, definitely a fun game, guys. If you guys are into this fast-paced arcade type action, this is definitely going to be the one for you. The only complaint I have is just kind of with the controls and aiming your shots is a little more difficult than it would be, say, on like the Coleco version. So with that being said, let's go ahead and check out the Coleco version. All right, so here's Star Wars, the arcade game for the Colecovision now. Now, this one is a little bit different on here. As you can see, it seems like the graphics are a little bit more well-defined, a little bit more high-res. You actually have the wave or the easy, medium, and hard there. And it just looks a little bit more like vector graphics on this. So, yeah, and it's a little easier to aim on this, even though the Coleco's controllers are a little stiff. It is pretty easy to aim on this. Well, not completely easy, but it's easier than it is on the Atari, that's for sure. And this looks just a little bit more like the arcade game. It really does. And of course, because it's the first level, we're just going to go straight into the tunnel or into the canyon. And to me, this level here, it's simply because it's just on the easiest level, probably. It's just way too easy. I can just sit here and just kind of fly down the center of the canyon and be perfectly okay. And here comes the thing. Let me see if I can shoot it. And of course, I missed it. So now we got to do it all over again. See if I can get it this time. And I still didn't get it. What the heck, man? What am I missing there, guys? Alright, guys, so here we go. I'm gonna blow up the Death Star. There we go. And that's it. You don't even get to see the Death Star blowing up in this version. And that's kind of a bummer as well. I kind of never liked that with this version. It's like, okay, that's the whole thing. You want to see the Death Star blow up, man. You know what I mean? But once again, we go to the, the TIE Fighter parts. So we'll kind of skip ahead, and I'll meet you guys again when we get to the towers. Alright, so we're to the tower part here. And just like the Atari 5200 version, you just got to shoot the tops off. It's just like the arcade version too. You just got to shoot the tops off, avoid the fireballs, shoot the fireballs if you need to. Make sure you don't hit these towers, because as you can see, it takes up your shields. That was horrible. A little bit more fast-paced. The towers are actually kind of hard in this, because they're harder to avoid. The 5200 seemed like it was a little easier to avoid the towers. These ones just kind of come up on you real quick. And there you go. See what I mean? So there's Star Wars for the Colecovision, guys. I'm going to go ahead and... I don't know which one is the best on this one. We're going to have to decide at the end of the video. Alright, up next is Berzerk on the Atari 5200. Alright guys, so I wanted to go ahead and put some classic good arcade games in here that kind of compete with one another. But aren't exactly the same. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do Berzerk on the 5200 against Frenzy, which is basically the sequel to Berzerk on the Coleco, and see which one of these versions are better. Now both of these games I just enjoy the hell out of. I just love them all. I'm not going to lie. And then Evil Otto here. God, I hate him. But at least in Frenzy, you can actually shoot him. You can't kill him. You can shoot him to have him go away. Then he comes back even more pissed off, basically. Frenzy just adds more to the game than just basic Berzerk. But Berzerk definitely is a fun game, too. And with the voice, that digitized synthetic 80s voice from Evil Otto. I mean, this is just a classic. Everybody knows Berzerk, Just such a great game. Berzerk is, like I said, definitely a fun game, and if I would avoid hitting the dang walls, that would be nice. Yeah, you can't touch the walls on this. It's electrified as well. Now in Frenzy you can, but in this one you can't. Ooh, I almost got killed there. I'm on my last life here, guys, but definitely is a fun game. I'm not gonna lie. I really dig this game. It's one of those games that just gets your adrenaline pumping. The further you go, the harder it gets. The more intense Evil Otto gets. It's just an overall pretty cool game, guys. Well, let's go ahead and check out Frenzy over on the ColecoVision next. Alright guys, so here is Frenzy on the ColecoVision, and like I said, this is the sequel to Berzerk. You still have Evil Otto in this, although you can shoot him, he comes back a little bit more pissed off every time he comes back. And if you do it enough times, he comes at you at like lightning speed. So definitely a different game here than the original. But pretty much the gameplay is almost still the same. Your enemies are a little bit different. You got to watch your laser there. You'll shoot yourself because it bounces off those solid walls. So you definitely have to watch that kind of stuff as well. But this is such a fast-paced game, guys. I mean, I love this game. It is fast-paced. It just works so well. And then there's Evil Otto, so let's go ahead and shoot him. So see, he goes away. You can shoot him again if you wanted to, but see, every time you shoot him, he comes back faster and faster and faster. So we're just going to kind of avoid him for now. But yeah, this is such a great game. It's fast-paced, the controls are great, the sounds are great. I mean, they really did a good job on this game. I'm not going to lie to you. This is great. Alright, we're going to try to take Evil Otto out again here. It's funny how a smile turns to a frown. We're going to try it again. I'm going to see how fast we can get him to go. But as you guys can see, he just gets faster and faster. Yeah, it's insane how fast he gets. And then you have the big Evil Otto here in the middle. And it's funny is that when you start shooting the little Evil Otto, the big Evil Otto will start doing bad things to you. So you got to be careful when you have the big Evil Otto in the center of the screen there. Pretty cool, guys. And then, of course, I just killed myself. He smiles about it. Gotta love it. These games are so great. Let's see if I can shoot Evil Otto. You see how he turns pissed off? I'm gonna leave before he does anything crazy. But once again, like I said, controls are great. The graphics are great. The sounds are great. You can kind of do this angle attack like I'm doing here. It's definitely something different you can do in this game that you couldn't do in the original. Just so much cool stuff here, guys. Honestly, I'm probably going to have to say that this game is better than the original Berzerk. There's just so much more to it than the original Berzerk. Berzerk, you're just shooting the robots and to try to survive and, you know, running away from Evil Otto. And here you can actually shoot Evil Otto. You have those solid walls where you can bounce your shots off of and make carom shots, and just so many different things in this game that make it unique. But yeah, on my last life here, guys, I don't know how much longer I'll live, but yeah, definitely I'm probably going to give this one to the Colecovision because this game is just a blast to play. I'm not gonna lie, this is so much fun. Alright, last but not least on the Atari 5200, pole position. So what I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to actually do a couple different driving games. I wanted to do Turbo on the Colecovision, but unfortunately, I do not own the driving control, or the expansion module 2, I think is what they call it. So I'm not able to play that game. So I did have to pick a different driving game on the Colecovision, which probably not the best one, but it's one that's on multiple systems other than Coleco, and it's like on the Commodore 64 and other things as well. But let's go ahead and concentrate here on pole position. As you guys can see, the graphics are just great on this game. Gameplay. Now with these analog controls, it just makes this game so nice. Because the further you go over, the more you steer. Just like you would in any driving game. So it makes it really easy to play this game. In fact, I kind of like playing this pole position on this better than I do on the 8-bit computer system, simply because the controls are just so precise. So this game definitely works very well with the analog controls on the 5200. It's like this game was made for them. Alright guys, so it looks like we qualified only in third though, but I'm not really trying. But as you guys can see, I mean, this game is just great. The sound is great, the graphics is great, the controls are just amazing in this game. So yeah, this is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite 5200 game. It is just so cool. Now shifting to low gear is up, shifting to high gear is down, just so you guys know that as well. That's the one thing you kind of got to look for in this game, is when you're steering, making sure you don't press either up or down as you're going left and right because you don't want to get out of the gear you're in. So just kind of keep that in mind with the analog controls. But if you guys are into these driving games, this is going to be the one for you. I mean, just with the stick and everything, it's just so good on this. I'm not going to lie. It is like the best driving game ever. Well, at least on the 5200. That's the way I feel. But definitely a really cool game. If you guys are into these driving games, check this out on the 5200. Let's go ahead and head on over to the Colecovision and see what driving game I picked for that one. Alright guys, so the last game on the Colecovision here is going to be Pitstop. And like I said, this game is on a ton of different systems, not just the Coleco, it's on like the Commodore 64, it's on the Atari 8-bit, it's just on a ton of different systems. And then what's cool about this game, what makes it unique, is that you can do your own pit stops. But since pole position doesn't have that, I'm not going to show that. I'm just going to kind of show the driving of this game. We're just going to do a real quick 3-lap race here. Controls are okay, I'm not going to lie. It's pretty easy to control. Once again, the ColecoVision stiff controllers, like if you were to probably plug in an Atari controller into this, it would make this game probably a whole lot easier. But playing with the actual Coleco controllers, it definitely is a little stiff and a little hard to try to get around cars without wrecking. Now the nice thing about this, obviously you can hit cars without blowing up, but it does damage to your car. As you can see, my tires are starting to change color and things like that. It just shows you if they're getting worn out and whether it's time to do a pit stop. Now, like I said, if you had a longer race, I only picked 3 laps. You would definitely have to do a pit stop to fuel and get tires and other things. But in this, like I said, we're just comparing it to pole position, and honestly, pole position blows this thing out of the water, guys. The one thing that is kind of cool in this game is just the novelty of the pit stops, and that's what makes this game. That's why it's called Pitstop. So if you can get your pit stops down fast and accurate, you can win your races. That's basically the key to this game. As you guys can see, we won. It's a pretty easy game. But anyway, there it is. Pitstop on the ColecoVision, guys. I'm going to go ahead and give this challenge for the driving games to the 5200. Alright guys, so we come to the end of the video where I kind of give my opinions and my thoughts and basically judge who won the competition here. So let's kind of go over the games here. So Jungle Hunt, it looks like the ColecoVision won. Montezuma's Revenge, the 5200 won. Pitfall II, the 5200 won. Star Trek, the ColecoVision won. Star Wars, that one's kind of a toss-up. Berzerk and Frenzy, that toss-up between those two games, looks like the Coleco won. And then Pole Position and Pitstop, the 5200 won. So they are tied as of right now. I mean, these two systems were basically the epitome, the peak of the second generation of consoles, guys. These were the two best of the second gen consoles that came out. So trying to compare them is like apples to oranges. I mean, one's got the Z80, one's got the 6502 processor, so it does have a different color palette, different kind of graphics and different kind of sounds and capabilities. But it definitely made it, you know, a fun competition here. And if I had to choose one, it's kind of hard for me to do, but it really comes down to that Star Wars game, to kind of choose the winner here. Because I can't just leave it on a tie. I just can't do that for you guys. So, to give you the grand reveal here, as far as Star Wars went, I liked how it felt on the 5200 as far as the controls go, except for the aiming. Now, with the other, the ColecoVision version seemed like it had a little bit more of the vector graphics per se. It seemed a little bit more like the arcade. So with that, guys, I am going to go ahead and pick, drum roll, actually the Atari 5200. And that one surprised me because I really thought the ColecoVision was going to win this one. But some of the games on the ColecoVision are just, the graphics weren't the greatest. The controls are just too touchy. And I didn't think I was going to complain about the controls on the ColecoVision, seeing that the 5200 controls, everybody complains about those. But once you start getting used to the controls on the 5200, it's really not that bad. And if you have a controller like mine that's rebuilt and it actually works well, It makes all the difference. Not having to play with a broke old controller. So definitely a huge difference there. So for this one, guys, I'm going to go ahead and give this one to the Atari 5200. Sorry to all you Coleco fans, but this was one of the closest versus videos I have had yet. Definitely, these two systems are neck and neck, you know, like just going to the finish line like this. So definitely some really cool systems. But if you guys did enjoy the content, don't forget to hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell. That way you guys do get notifications when I drop new videos just like the one you're seeing here. Also, if you want to support the channel, go ahead and hit that super thanks down below. Any kind of contributions we get towards the channel goes right back into the channel to provide content just like the video that you are watching today. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have a great one. Peace out, y'all.
Game over, man. It's game over.